Well, let's go with it. And let's get one other thing straight. The Sabbath, Saturday, Sunday, it's 7 days a week for me. I worship the Lord on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I love the Lord. I absolutely love the Lord. I'm a preacher's kid. Don't hold that against me. I was raised in a good Christian home by a good Christian mother, and you guys have heard that part of the story before. A dad that did not know the Lord, but a mom that did, and a mom that prayed, and a church that prayed. And it wasn't long before my dad gave his heart to Christ. And he just turned 82 just a couple weeks ago. He's tried to retire 3 times from church. And the Lord has found a way to get him back in church. He retired after 37 years of pastoring at one church and said, it's time to move on. I'm going to travel and just go to a couple different churches and fill in when I'm needed. And that was 13 years ago. And he's still there at that church. And he tried to retire. And they said, yeah, we'll get somebody to fill in. And a month and a half later, he says, son, I just can't do it. He said, I can't retire. He said, as long as this heart's still beating, he said, I've got a sermon to bring. There are still people that are lost. There are still people that need Christ. There are still people that need to be saved. There's still people that are saved that have gone back on the Lord, that need to get their fire rekindled. They need to have revival in their life. So every day is a revival for me. I love the Lord. I love what He has done for me, how He turned my life around. And He did it through the motorcycle ministry. And I turned my life back over to Christ back in 2001 through a motorcycle accident. Man, just a crazy, crazy set of events that happened in my life. They got me turned around. I thought there was a bike behind me starting somewhere. But I'll come tonight to tell you the story of Leave a Mark and how we started. It's an awesome story. Our Pastor Steve Combs, Grove City Church of the Nazarene, started back in 1998. We started doing this thing called Biker Blessings. And I remember the story he told me. He said, I had this idea one day that I just thought about, what if we just could take a day out of the year, one Sunday, invite bikers to come in with tattoos and motorcycles and jeans and beards and all this stuff. What if we just took one day and invited them to come out? So he said, I got the church rules and the bylaws, and he said, I went back through and I looked under the B's and I couldn't find Biker Sunday anywhere. So I went to the board, and he said, I talked to the board and I asked them what they thought about that, and they said, well, let's give it a shot. So in 1998, had the first Biker Sunday, had 64 bikes at the first one. The next year, had 132, and the following year, it kept growing and growing till in 2006, we had over 8,000 people at our biker service in 2006. So, and countless thousands of people that gave their life to Christ through the motorcycle ministry. Now, when people tell us, and I know they've told Tom this before, they've told me that we have no place in church with our leather and our tattoos and the stuff that we do. Man, they need to get in their Bible, because I don't find that anywhere. The Christ that I serve, He hung around with people like me, like you. Amen? That's the people we have to go after. And you know where those people are at? They're not in church. They're out there on their motorcycles. They're out there in the bars. They're out there in the places that I love to go. Tom loves to go. The guys that I'll tell you what, these guys bless me. Because all I got to do is say, guys, I need somebody to go with me. I need something done. I need this done. I need that done. And I got volunteers that just step up. So I got an awesome group of guys that I serve with. And the biker ministry is nothing about me. It's about Christ. And these guys love serving Christ. They will give up nights at home with their family, and they'll go and do the things that God called us to do. But back in 2003 is where the story really began, the story of Leave a Mark. We had our Biker Sunday that year, and there's a bar in town called Ernie's Bar. And Ernie was one of those kind of guys, and you all know him, you probably have friends just like him. He would do anything in the world for you. As the old expression goes, give you the shirt off his back if that's what you needed. He would do that for you. He was just that kind of a guy. And in 2002, Steve said, you know what we need to do? He goes, we need to start bar hopping. Of course, that didn't go over too good with a few of the people, but when they found out why they were going to do it, they did it for a reason. They started going into the bars and passing out the flyers and the tracts and inviting these guys to come to Biker Sunday. And Steve said he was a little nervous about it because our pastor grew up in an alcoholic home. His mom had 3 children before she was, 17? Wasn't it 16 or 17, I think? She had 3 kids before she was 16 or 17. He said he saw his dad beat his mom many, many times. So he really had a problem going into the bars, but it's what God told him to do. So he said he took 3 or 4 of his biggest buddies that he could find, and they started going bar hopping. Started passing out flyers and tracts and inviting these guys to come out to church because these guys need Christ. Don't be afraid to invite these people to church, man. Don't be afraid. Don't miss an opportunity. These people need Christ just like we do. So they went into this bar, and it's Ernie's bar, and they invited Ernie to come out, and he didn't come out in 2002, but he came out in 2003. He came out to church, came to our Biker Sunday. Did not give his life to Christ as far as we know, but he came. That's a start. A couple months later, there's a young girl comes into the bar. She's 21 years old. She goes, I'm here celebrating my 21st birthday. She goes, and I have never rode on a Harley. Ernie says, well, tonight is your night because mine's parked right outside the bar. They got up from the bar, they went outside, they got on the motorcycle, they went exactly one block, and got rear-ended by a drunk driver and killed them both. They were chasing him out on 270 going around Columbus. They couldn't catch him. They lost him. He got off at Broadway, was doing 75, 80 mile an hour down a 35 mile an hour road and hit him and killed Ernie instantly. Drugged the girl, I think they said like 700 yards or something like that. Threw her body out from under the car, went out through a field. They finally got the guy. But we did Ernie's funeral. About 1,000 motorcycles, and probably a couple thousand people came to the funeral. Just that kind of love that they had for this guy. I mean, people showed up in droves. And about 2 or 3 months after the funeral, Steve's out, and our pastor, he loves riding. He doesn't ride anymore. He sold his motorcycle and to help pay off our property at church where we're getting ready to put a building up. And he's riding by the bar. Huge party going on at the bar. When our pastor does not like to miss a party, so he pulls in, find out what's going on. And he talked to Becky, that was Ernie's sister, and says, "Well, what's going on? There's just a ton of bikes." She goes, "We're initiating a new dance floor. Put a brand new dance floor in the bar." Steve said, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And he goes, "Well, just watch." 2 bikers backed their bikes in one at a time, J.R. and Buford, backed their bikes in on the bar, or the dance floor, and did a burnout. Everybody know what a burnout is? You spin the back tire, smoke, and everything flies. And J.R. does a burnout, pulls his bike out. Buford goes in, does a burnout, pulls out. Then our pastor standing there talking to Becky and says, "Listen, our church is here for you. If there's anything at all we can do for you, let us know." And he goes, "I'm going to get going. Is there anything, last thing you need?" And she goes, "Yeah, would you do me a favor? Would you pull your bike in and do a burnout. Now, if you know our pastor, he does not miss an opportunity to waste a back tire doing a burnout. He's done numerous burnouts. In fact, a couple of years ago, his bike was broke. He lets somebody, which they're stupid if you let my pastor ride your bike. If you ever come around our church and our pastor says, let me ride your bike, just say, no, it's not running right now. Lie to him. Don't let him ride your bike. Okay? So he gets on this guy's bike and gets it in first gear and pops the clutch, and he's just smoke rolling, and I'm looking down going, Steve, stop. He goes, what's going on? I said, that's the clutch. That's not the back tire, dude. He's got the brake locked up, and he's just burning it for all it'll burn, and just about burnt the clutch up. So it did burn the clutch. That's right. It almost locked the thing up. So he comes in the bar. He does a burnout on the dance floor. So there's 3 guys have done that now. Pulls his bike outside. They all 3 walk back in, and they sign their names. JR signed his. Buford signed his, and Steve signed his. And he signed it John 3:16, the greatest mark ever left. And he said, and I walked out of that bar, and he said, I no sooner got about a foot out of that bar door, and God told me, Steve, this is what I want you to do for the rest of your life. Now, he'd been our pastor for 10 years, a very solid position that he had at the Nazarene Church. He goes, I want you to give that up, and I want you to start your own church, and it's going to be called Rev-It-Up Ministries. Of course, how many of you believe in faith? Faith is something that sometimes it seems so easy to do, but yet it's so hard to do, to step out on faith. But he did that. He resigned his pastorship. And on February 3rd, 2007, we started Rev-It-Up Ministries. Started with 12 people in his living room with a vision of what God could do. And we started in February 3rd of 2007, and we're up to now. We're having 3 services. We bought a piece of property. And I got to tell you that story too. We were meeting at a local school, and Steve was standing outside the school looking over across this property, and right across from where we meet every Sunday, there's a huge plot of ground. I don't know how many acres it is, but anyway, they had it already zoned for apartments, condos, houses, and everything like that. And here he is, God saying, no, I want you on that corner, Rathmill and Parsons. Well, you can't. It's already zoned. It's already set up. God says, no, you go talk to those people that own that property. You talk to them, tell them what we want to do. So he goes and talks to these people, the owners of the property, and they said, you know what? Let's go talk to the people that did the zoning, and let's see what they say. Now, this has already been zoned. It's already been set up. They've got the roads all mapped out. The zoning committee says, you know what? We could probably revise that. And the guy came back and says, you know what? We're going to sell you 40 acres right on the corner. Just what God had told Steve to go get. So we asked the guy, says, well, okay, how much? Now, we're a brand new church. We're only 6, 8, 9 months old. The guy says, $2 million. Excuse me? That was how much? He said, $2 million. Brand new church. Brand new bank account, nowhere near $2 million. So he told him, he said, we can't afford that. So the family goes back, and they talk, and they go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to sell you 40 or we're going to sell you 30 acres, and we're going to give you 10 acres, and we're going to sell it to you for $1.5 million, and we're going to float the loan. God thing, maybe? Huh? The whole Rev-It-Up thing has all been set up by God. It's been an absolute joy to be part of the church and do what we've done. Now we're getting ready to put our first building up. We have converted one of our buildings. It used to be an old grain building. We've converted it into a chapel. I should have brought some pictures and put them up for you to see, but We've literally had thousands of people saved. We've done over 1,500 baptisms since 2007. People are coming to Christ. Why? Because somebody cared about us. Number one, Jesus Christ cared about us to send His one and only Son into this world that we might be saved. But then He did something even beyond that. He gave us visions and He gave us dreams. And He gave people that aren't afraid, just like Tom, to step out and Rev-It-Up Revival. What's that all about? It's about trying to make a difference in people's lives. That's what our church is about. It's about loving people, showing people, giving people a place of hope where they can come and find Christ. Church is not in here, guys. Church is out there. It's out there on the highways. It's at the truck stops. It's at the bars. It's the places where people are that need Christ. And it's our job as motorcyclists. You know, there's a lot of people, like Tom said, in suits and ties. You can't get close to the people that we get close to because they don't want anything to do with you. They don't want to deal with suits and ties. But they'll stand there and they'll talk to a guy with tattoos, biker leather, jeans, riding a bike, making all kind of racket. And that's our job to do that. It's our job to go. Christ said go. And He also said, I'll go with you. He's not going to take us any place that He hasn't been before. He's not going to call us through any trial that He hasn't dealt with before. He's not going to put you in any situation that you have not been in before that He won't be there to help you. I love coming to Rev-It-Up Revival. I am so blessed every year. And if you take 1 year and you don't invite me, I'll haunt you till the day you die. I love this. I love doing what God has called me to do. God called me to preach back when I was 21 years of age. But I turned my back on the Lord. I got so sideways and so twisted up in everything that I didn't want anything to do with it. And it took a motorcycle accident and a motorcycle to get my life straightened out. What's it going to take for you? Have you left a mark in this world? Do you want to leave a mark in this world? I love the name of our church. You know, we use a tire tread with a burnout, you know, as our logo. Are you interested in leaving a mark? Are you going to leave a mark? I ask that for a reason. It's because if you haven't, and if you don't have that desire in your heart, you can have that tonight. I speak as long as the Lord tells me to speak. And when He tells me to shut up, He tells me to shut up, and I quit. But I love the Lord tonight. Beyond anything, I love the Lord. I love what He's done to my life and what He's done in my life. And I'm going to proclaim Him as my Savior, my Lord, my strength, my rock, my comforter, my salvation, my place of hope until the day that my heart quits. And when it does, I've left my mark. I'll be with Him in paradise. And I pray that I'll see many, many of you there the same day. I can't wait. I've got a lot of people up there I want to see. I've got a grandmother that's there. I've got a brother that I've never seen. I have a brother that was born and lived about a minute and a half. And he went home to be with the Lord. I want to see him. Got a grandfather I've never seen. I want to see him. But most of all, I want to see Jesus. He's the one that left the mark in His hands, in His feet, and in His side. He's the one that freely gave His life, laid it down freely for you and for me. And brother, I love seeing you, man. You in the red shirt. I forget your name. I met you a couple years ago. You were in the Korean War. We stood there and talked about it. I love this guy. You know why I love this guy? I don't know him that well, but every time I see him, he's always smiling. Man's happy about something, and I think I know what it is.
Thank you.
But he has a special place in my heart because he served in the same, and I call it war. It wasn't a conflict to me. It was a war, the Korean War that my dad fought in. So to me, it's a war. That conflict thing kind of bothers me a little bit. Conflict's something when you do, you go and you smack the guy in the head and you go part your ways and say everything's good. But a war is when the guys die for you. So this evening, if you have anything in your life that's troubling you, anything that's bothering you tonight, if you don't know the Lord, I don't know your hearts, only you and God does. But Tom said, come and share the Leave a Mark story. It's a pretty short story, but it's a very impactful story. You know, you don't have to have the big stained glass windows and the fancy pews and all that stuff. You just have to have a willingness in your heart to accept Christ and then go out and live for Him. Go out and do His will and do His job. And it's a big job, guys. There's a lot of work to be done. And I'll tell you, if the newspaper and the TVs and the news broadcast don't break your heart and give you a reason to be out doing Christ's work, something's wrong. Because it's a messed up world that we live in. I just heard today of another shooting out west, out at a college. Guy just starts firing off rounds at people. I don't think anybody got killed this time. But this world's not long before Christ comes back. I just pray and trust that you're all ready to go. You guys that have traveled many, many miles, ride another mile, man. And when you get to the end of that mile, ride another one for Christ. He needs us out there. He needs us just as bad as He needs all the other, what I call pulpit preachers. He needs us on these motorcycles to do this. This motorcycle ministry is huge all over this world. It's a big thing. So I thank you for your attention tonight. I praise the Lord tonight. I'm not going to stand up here and babble. When God says it's done, it's done. But I love you, man.